Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 120 of Screw the Commute podcast. We're here with Rose Haller, and if you would like to stay safe at work or keep your employees safe at work to save you enormous amounts of money in lawsuits and lost wages, lost productivity, and increasing health care costs and all the other kind of crap you got to pay in business, you want to listen to Rose. She'll be here in a moment. Last episode was 119 with Patricia Fripp. Patricia Fripp is one of my longtime friends from the National Speakers Association, and she's definitely got the record for attending my butt camp seminars over the years. And she's the first woman president of the National Speakers Association. I learned a lot from her as I was coming up through the ranks. And her friends just call her Fripp or Frippy, and that's what I call her on that episode. You don't want to miss it. All right, our podcast app is now available in iTunes and the Apple Store. So make sure you get the Screw the Commute podcast app, and you can download it to your cell phone or tablet, and it does all kinds of cool things. In fact, we have training to show you how to do all the cool features that it has, so you can take us with you on the road and save your favorite episodes and all kinds of interesting stuff it'll do. So you go to screwthecommute.com/app. screwthecommute.com/app, A-P-P. Now, our on-demand TV is both on Roku TV and Amazon Fire. So you can get, $100,000 worth of public speaking and professional speaking training at those sites if you have a Roku TV or an Amazon Fire TV. So just search for the public speaking channel and let her rip and let me know what you think. Now, our youth program is in full swing, so we're looking for entrepreneurial youth, anything up to maybe 22 or early 20s, that are doing great things entrepreneurially, because we want to feature them once a month on Screw the Commute. So if you know anybody, let them have my email, orders@antion.com, and have them contact me, and we'll tell them what they have to do to possibly be featured on an episode, a special youth episode of Screw the Commute. All right, our sponsor today is the Distance Learning School, the Internet Marketing Training Center of Virginia. Rose had a hand in helping me start that years and years ago. And don't even think about retraining yourself or sending your kids to college until you check out our webinar on higher education. I don't want you wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars and putting yourself and your kids under crushing debt. And we'll have the webinar in the show notes, but you can go to screwthecommute.com/webinars or just click on free webinars and you can see that. All right, let's get to the main event. Rose is CCO of Restaurant Employee Safety. Now, I never heard of what a CCO is, so I had to look it up. And I found there's 85 different acronyms for CCO. So she's going to tell us which one she is, but there's the Chief Channel Officer, there's the Chief Commercial Officer, Compliance Officer, Creative Officer, and there's also some, I don't know if this one's her or not, the Certified Crane Operator or Clandestine Communist Organization. I hope that's not the one she is, but she's the CCO, and she'll let us know which one that is. She was an HR manager for a 12-unit fast food franchise. And Rose's restaurant safety program lowered the franchise's worker comp multiplier. And she'll also tell you what that is, in case you don't know, from 1.1315, and then it went to 0.09353, the lower the better, folks, to 0.7014, and finally to 0.6. And that year, the franchise earned a 40% claim-free discount, which saved the company $189,000. So she's going to give you the details of what all this stuff means. So, Rose, are you ready to screw the commute?
Yep.
All right. How you doing?
I'm here. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm just peachy. So you're doing a lot more than the safety stuff now. I know that you've done a lot with wedding websites, and tell everybody what you're doing now.
Well, right now the main focus is the restaurant employee safety. That's the one that I've been working on recently. I have done the weddings things, but and thanks to you, because I went to your butt camp and taught me how to do internet marketing, which is awesome, and it's really exciting. So I'm ready to launch the new product. They say to do what it is that you love and what you know. And working in restaurants for over 25 plus years, I hate to admit how many actual years, but and safety was one of the things that was always top of my list. So,
well, tell people what these multipliers mean and the discount, the all that stuff means with the unemployment. Because if they start hiring employees, they have to think about these things.
yeah, well, with the workman's comp, some people call it L&I. Some of them come through your state. Some of them depending on where you're setting up your restaurant, what state you're in, there's going to be different laws. But almost every
well, it's
state,
any kind of business, though, right? It's not. I mean, this applies to me and everybody else, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. If you're doing any kind of business, you've got workman's comp.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. But we're doing so for restauranting. When you do it, your workman's comp, depending on what business you're in, a 1 is saying that, okay, if you stay at a 1, then you are right in line with what your company, what they say other companies would be. So if you're a roofer, your 1 is going to be higher. You're paying more per employee because roofers can fall off a roof. And then there's different businesses that will have a lower workers.
Just because
comp.
of the amount of
Yeah.
danger, or
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So like if you're a forklifter or you're working on ladders, you have a higher danger than people who are working in an office, for example.
I could fall off this chair right now, and it wouldn't be good for either the mantle or the hearth of the fireplace or me.
Yes, this is true. But and this, and even within, like you said, we work in an office, right, on our chairs. So we might have a lower multiplier to get, or not multiplier, but a lower starting number with workers' comp than a roofer would have per se. But it's still a 1 is going to be based on what your business is.
Right. And so every business, no matter what it is, has some kind of risk, right? Because people get carpal tunnel, they get eye strain, they get neck and back pains, and all kinds of stuff.
They could trip over a wire, a computer wire and fall and, break their neck. I mean, things can happen. So, but every business starts at a 1. So if you're running a 1, you're doing what all the other businesses in your category are. Okay. And so what the workers' comp, in the example that you gave for ours, in this franchise that I had started working for, I started working for them, and about 6 months into me working for them, and when I first got hired, it was kind of funny. My boss said, well, corporation says, corporate offices, the people who they were franchising from says I need to have an HR person, but I don't even know what I need an HR person for, and I don't even know what I would have you do. And I said, well, guaranteed I know enough about restauranting, I could figure out probably what I would need to do for you and what would be the highest. I'll take what I consider the most intense thing that we need to start with.
And the most valuable thing to the
most valuable
restaurant.
thing for them. Yeah. And so when I got into it, I realized, oh my goodness, these guys were having accidents like crazy, and they were paying through the roof for their workers' comp. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to start with a safety program, because even though the corporation had a safety program, which a lot of big restaurant corporations do, they only teach safety at the time they're teaching the beginning of one particular, let's say like you're learning how to do fries, right? And they'll tell you, okay, here's how you do fries, and make sure you're careful because fry grease can splatter on you and it's going to hurt. Don't put your hand in the fryer. Don't put the fries down too fast. Don't put ice in there because it's going to splatter. But that's the only time you hear about it. There's no recurring safety that's always happening. So it's only at that first point when you're learning, you're learning grill, right?
Or right after somebody gets hurt.
Well, yeah, no, even then, it was just like, hey, there was nothing. It was just like, oh, they got hurt. You guys got to cut this out. Well, saying that you got to cut it out is like telling your child, don't run in the street. They hear run in the street, so because our minds don't work in a negative. It's impossible to work in a negative. If I tell you, don't think of a purple elephant. Okay. What color was yours? Did
Purple.
it have, right? But was it shiny? Was it big? Was it small? Was it young? But we all thought of a purple elephant. Even if you tried really hard not to, you thought of that purple elephant just for a second. You may have tried to turn it to pink later, but you did think of it at first. And because our minds think that way. And so I know there's a lot of other people that teach, that have articles about safety, and they say safety is impossible to teach because it's a negative. It's an absence of. Well, no, it's not. If you know how to do it the right way, instead of telling your child, don't run in the street, what you would say to your child is stay in the yard. That's a positive. Stay in the yard, which would be the opposite of running out in the street. So, and so that's what I started doing, is saying, okay, we need to teach this in a positive way of here's how you stay safe within the restaurant. And in a restaurant, there are a lot of, just like any business has certain dangers that are going to be, part of what it is that you do. And in restauranting, we've got so many things that can cut you, so many things that can burn you, slip, trip, and falls, ergonomic hazards, robbery hazards. There's all these different things that you could possibly get hurt with. So I thought, okay, there's 12 months of the year. Let's remind somebody each of the 12 months. And then I went, oh, you know what? There was a 13th one I put in there that I realized I really needed to have. And so when I first started putting together this program for them, it had the 13 different categories. And so every 4 weeks, we would put out a new category. Now, just saying, okay, we can create this safety thing, but here's the other issue. I've been in restaurant management, and I know how tight the hours are. You're already working a gazillion hours, and you just don't have time to do the one more thing. So I thought, okay, so not only do I need to create this program, I need to be able to give it to the stores so they can use it without impacting the time that a manager would have to take with it. So I made it as an online program because I'd already taken your course before about how to do things online. And so I took a PowerPoint, I turned it into a video, and I recorded it. And so then the employees were able to just watch this. And then I would do then the assistants would do, let me know that everyone, they had a sign up sheet that I would provide for them. So they would have the employees sign the sheet after they watched it. And then I would compile all those records so that if any time this was, in the about 2007, 09 in there. And at that point, OSHA was coming after restaurants because construction was down. And we had actually gotten inspected by OSHA a couple times. So, and you want to make sure those records are correct. So I would take care of all the records and all the recording, and and then I'd been there about 6 months, and in the state that I live in, which is where this restaurant was at, it was a state-funded workers' comp. They came to our location, looked at my owner, and said, we are no longer going to be providing you workers' comp. You guys are up through the roof, and there's no way this is happening. And they're like, wait. We have this. No, you can't do that. We have this new HR girl. She's really into safety. You have to see what she's doing. We promise it's going to get better. And they're like, fine, show us what we're doing. So I showed them, what it is I had created, and they're like, okay, we're going to give you one more shot. So that's when the thing started going down, those numbers. So this multiplier that started at over 1. So we were above the national average.
Yeah, 1.1315.
Yeah, which was costing a lot of money. So then the next year it went down to the 0.09. We got a letter that said, oh, congratulations, you've gone down to the 0.09. This is great. This is good, and your company saved $20,000, and, keep this up. And so the next year we went down again. The next year we went down again to the 0.06, and at 0.6. And at that point, now I had the state restaurant association showing up at our door going, what are you doing?
Wow.
Because we have never seen numbers like this. What are you doing? We have to know what you're doing. And so unfortunately for me, my boss said, okay, well, we'll show you everything. And I'm like, no, I want to sell it. You can't show them. But anyway, so I had to show them what I was doing. And now actually that restaurant association has created kind of what I had. But this was the old version. So now what I'm creating is kind of like the Rose's Safety Program 5.8. I say that because in the old one, it was based on just, the straight information. I'd written out the scripts and, but it was like 12 minutes worth of just this one person, one voice. It was mine, actually. So, my voice that was reading the script with the different pictures and things that I had used. Now, fast forward here to 2018, when I was building this, I've learned about microlearning, which is so important because, a lot of people now, because of video games and things like that, have attention spans of a gnat.
Right.
You get bored so easily. And so the way I created my training now is, same really good information, all in that positive thing of here's what you do to not, to stay safe. Like it's the difference of not get hurt or stay safe. So we're talking about stay safe. But within that, about every 2 to 3 minutes or so, I change a different character, different voice, and different information. So we talk about the intro to whatever it is, whether it's cuts, burns, slip, trip, falls. And then we talk about what it is, and then the potential hazards that surround that, and then why it happens, and then how to prevent it, and then what to do in case all else fails and you still have an accident. And then we wrap it up, and then we have a music video. And so every couple of minutes, everything is changing, new subject within the subject, subset of the subject. And so it makes it fun. It makes it interesting. I've showed it to a lot of different people, and they're like, oh, I can't wait to see the next one. And I'm thinking, okay, well, that's probably the best thing you could hear of for safety training, because most safety training is so beyond boring.
But you made this
boring.
You made this more cost effective than a lot of other places too, right?
Way more cost effective. Yeah, there's most other, like a lot of other places, if you do want to get safety training for a restaurant, it's created from a lot of the companies who have created it for like the roofers or, the other construction companies and things like that. And they did restauranting kind of as an afterthought. So when you watch the videos, they're just boring bad. And they charge you $160 for one of these DVDs. Okay. And then if you want to get the Spanish version of it, it's another $160. And that's just for burns. Then if you want to talk about cuts, you're buying another set.
Oh, wow.
160 plus 160. And then if you want to do slip, trip, fall, you're talking another 160 and 160. So this can get really cost absorbent. And I mean, if you bought the English and Spanish if you bought just the English version of what I'm doing, times 13, 160 times 13 really starts adding up.
Oh, wow.
And
now,
then,
can I get a discount? Can I get a discount if I just do trip and fall rather than slip, trip, and fall?
Yeah, no, not on that one. They kind of come together. Hopefully you can catch yourself on a slip or a trip, but 9 times out of 10, boom.
All right, so you started back at Disney, or I mean, was that your first job?
No, that wasn't my first job. That was that was my last job before I quote retired to go online. My very first job actually was at Disneyland, and that's kind of a funny story because I wasn't even planning on working at Disneyland. I had 6 other girls I used to hang with that were, and we were always buds. And one day they said, "Hey, Rosie, come on, we're going to go to Disneyland." And I said, "Oh, fun, road trip." And they're like, "No, we're going to go get jobs." And I'm like, "I don't want a job at Disneyland." They go, "No, we're going to go get jobs at Disneyland. We're going to make all the rides go or be, operators and stuff for the summertime." And I'm like, "Oh man." So they talked me into, I said, "Fine, we'll go." And I ended up being the only one out of the 7 of us who got the job, which was kind of funny. So they're all like, oh man, we made you go, and then you're the one that got the job. So, and then once I got hired at Disney, they gave me a math test. And then because I was good at math, they said, fine, okay, you're good at math. So you're going to get to be in foods or tickets. And I went, what? They said, yeah, foods or tickets. And I'm thinking, no, I wanted to be in operations. They said, no, it's foods or tickets. I went, okay, so tickets, like I'd be in a little booth all day and I don't talk to any. Yeah, I'll do food. Thought of being trapped in a little box.
You need math to do food. I mean, do what with food? I mean, order stuff.
Yeah, this is back in the early 70s. So they didn't have registers like they do now that do all the math for you. You had to do all the adding in your head. Well, you either did it on a piece of paper, which is most people did, or you did it in your head. I did it in my head because it was so easy. Everything ended in 0, 25, 50, 75, and back to 0. So, and I was very fortunate in fact that I was so good at math that I didn't have to take the time to write it down. And so as I was picking up whatever anybody ordered, picking up the food and putting it into the boxes, I was adding it up in my head. So I'd come over with the box and say, okay, boom, there you go. It's, $5.25 or whatever it was. $5.25 used to buy you food back, and now you barely drink. So, and so that's how I'd started my food career.
So did they have a good safety program?
They had an amazing safety program. Disney, when you get hired, at least back then, I don't know if they still do it. Obviously, that was many years ago. But back then, when you're working at Disney, there's what they call backstage, and then when the guests can see you, they don't call the customers, they're guests. Mm-hmm. So when the guests can see you, when you're actually in the park, that's on stage. And so before you ever get on stage, they trained you for 6 weeks.
Wow.
In how to be good guest service and most of that was on safety. And so one of the stories that they told about safety, they said, you always have to have safety topmost in your mind. You always have to be thinking safe. You always have to be thinking exactly what you're doing at every second of every day. Think, and really keep that in it. Do not be like the person who, this girl who dropped a spoon in the fry vat and got down to get it.
She stuck her hand in the fry?
Stuck her hand completely down the fry to pick up the spoon she had dropped. And then he stopped. And he let that one sink in for a little while. Now, at 17 years old, that was terrifying. It's still terrifying to me to this day, but I had a visual that didn't quit. And then he said, yep, down to the bone within minutes, because oil doesn't let go. So now I had another visual that was even more terrifying. And I just thought, I don't ever want to get hurt. Why did I pick food? I should have picked tickets. Tickets seemed like a lot safer, but
you could get ticket burns or ticket cuts, paper cuts.
Paper cut, yeah. But it was great, And then Disney was one of the top companies to work for back then. I think it still is. And so at that point, every job I went to after that I applied for, they're looking at my resume and like, oh, you've worked at Disney. Great. You're hired. What can you do? It was totally backward like that. It wasn't like let's see what you can do. And then we'll think about it. If you worked at Disney, you were good. We're going to find a place for you,
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was great. So that really launched my food career. And then after that, I worked for fast food. I worked for full service. I worked for hotels in the, catering in the 5-star hotel restaurants. And so there was, was able to actually switch back and forth from full service to fast food, which is a really hard thing to jump. It doesn't seem like it should be. It seems, food is food, but there's a whole nother ball game. It's actually a whole nother sport. It just is. It's different. It would be like if an actor or an actress would tell you it's a lot different going from live theater to movies or TV, right?
Right. So how did you transition to working for yourself?
So working for myself, I actually had been going with my husband to different conventions and things, and we heard you speak. And I told my husband, I said, dude, I want to learn how to do online marketing. We need to go.
I didn't know this story. I know.
Oh,
there's people out there thinking, he set her up to say. No, I didn't even know this.
This is how I met you. So So anyway, and this was actually a couple years before I had met you. And he's like, no, I just want to stay focused on this other thing. I'm like, dude, I really want to go and talk. I really want to go to this guy's thing. And he's like, no. And so, but then we went to another thing a couple years after that. And there you were again. I said, that's it. I'm not taking no for an answer. I'm going to go and I'm going to learn how to do online marketing. I want to go see what this guy has to say. And so my husband said, fine, we'll go. And well, after we listened to you, we were both excited about it. And we both decided we needed to take your online, your butt camp. And so, so that's how I had found you. And I just thought, okay, this is cool. I got to learn how to do this. So at the time that I was working, in HR, which, for this one particular company, when I would get home,
it wasn't a communist organization, was it?
No, no.
We forgot to tell what CCO is. What is?
Oh, I'm the chief creative officer.
Creative officer.
Because I created all the content and things, put everything together. So and I'm the one that builds the websites and all that good kind of stuff. So right. we have a. My husband and I have a really good division of power. So I'm the one that does all the websites and things like that. Yeah. So chief creative officer. But so the one I started with was my wedding LDS site, because I'd been helping a lot of different people with weddings, and
that's LDS, right? LD.
Yeah, LDS.
Diaz, that's Mormon or Latter-day Saints, right?
Yep. Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So. And so I started working for doing that on the side, and was able to build that up. It actually has over 400 pages on it. If you need to create a wedding, that would be the place to go. If you're non-LDS, then just don't go into the parts about the temple. But there's
so anybody can use the site.
Anybody can use it. Oh yeah, I've got information on there about music, how to hire your DJs, what kind of music you should have, cutting your cake, making your cake, how to do your flowers.
I'm glad you told me that, because I always thought it was only for LDS people.
Oh no, it's for anybody who wants to use it. Yeah, I've got a really good budget that's an Excel download that you can use, so you can make up your budget ahead of time. Step by step, exactly how to do a wedding.
Is there any line items there for eventual divorce or anything?
No.
No, I guess that's not the positive.
I'm always hopeful.
That's not the positive side of things, I guess.
Yeah, I'm always hopeful that you're going to make it. But but, parties are my thing, and I am a holiday freakazoid. The first one to raise my hand on that. So, and I guess that goes with my hospitality background. I love making people happy. It's just what I do, and it's fun. So there's actually a partner about how to do buffet tables and things like that, how to set them up. So
wow. Yeah. So anyway, you developed that while you were still working, or
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, while I was still working, I developed that one, and then it came that time where it was getting too. I guess all those years had finally beat up my body and had killed the back and the shoulders. And so I retired, and then was able to go full time into working on internet marketing. Mm-hmm. And I helped my husband for the last couple of years build his.
He was on do you remember what number episode he was on? It's Howard Haller for the commercial real estate.
44 or 47 or something like that.
Okay, yeah. So check that out, folks, because that really opens your eyes to commercial real estate. It's actually easier to buy than a house, and I never realized that. So check that.
Yeah, the fun part about that one was I didn't know that. He'd always, before we'd gotten married, he had done all those kinds of things, and then and so it was great building that for him, because he was talking way over my head. I'm like, whoa. I'm a smart lady, and I do not know what you're saying. So I said, if I don't understand it, nobody's going to understand it. You need to dumb this down. You need to dumb this down. And so it is completely at a beginner level. Even if you don't know what you're doing, you can follow this. And
he's got an online course on how to invest in commercial real estate. Yep.
Yeah, and it's really cool. So we worked on that, and we launched that out last year. And then I said, okay, my turn. And so now I'm launching out my restaurant safety, and I
think this is going to be 1,000 times bigger than the commercial real estate. I really do, because there's just restaurants. I mean, how many restaurants are there in the U.S.? I mean,
there's
50 to 100,000?
Thousands of them. I mean, even just like Wendy's has over 6,000 units.
Yeah.
if you get like McDonald's, I think is 13,000, I think, or something like that here
That's
in the
all?
U.S. alone. And if you go outside of the country, now we're talking, 20 and 30,000 units. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of big
Yeah,
conglomerates out
I'm
there.
glad I
And
got you
there's a
on here
lot of mom and
before.
pops.
Yeah, I'm glad I got you on here before you're too big to talk to me. So.
I'll never be too big to talk to you. I consider you like my greatest friend, dearest friend, because you're the person who taught me how to do this. So, yeah. So it's been really, really fun. It's been great.
All right. So, what's the best thing you like working for yourself, and what's the worst part?
Best thing working for myself is if I want to sleep in, I can. Um, if I want to work in my slippers, I do. In fact, I have them on right now. It was sometimes I'll wake up in my robe. I go back to sleep in my robe. I mean, I just, if I'm really on a tangent where there's something I'm trying to build, to me, building a website and building a business like this is like the best of Tetris and chess at the same time. And, and because of that, you get in these things where you're there and then you're like, you can't stop because if you do, you'll forget what the next move was. And so you'll be on this roll. And sometimes at the end of the day, I'll go, gee, did I eat? I don't remember.
It's a good diet program too.
I guess, yeah, I keep a big pitcher
Hey,
of water by my desk.
You got to tell people what Tetris is. Some of the young people on here will say, what is she talking about? Tetris and chess? What?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think most people know what chess is.
Yeah, they know what chess is.
Yeah, Tetris was like an old video game where you would click on things and then they would fall into place, and then you'd click on the next and put things together, and then that would and things would go away, and then the next thing would fall into place. And so that's how I'm feeling this is. It's like you make certain moves and things fall into place, and so yeah, that's the part I love best about it, is that it's always intriguing, it's always fun. When I was growing up, my daddy had a little thing that was on the wall that had all these different, like the best this, the best that, the best that. And it said on there, I grew up with the best play was work. The next line, next line was the best work, what you like. Uh-huh. So if you work real hard at what you like, you're never working, you're playing. And so everybody's like, oh, you work so hard. I think, no, I play so hard because that's what this is, Yeah, it's what you want to do, and if I want to go on a plane and go spend, like we're going to be going to Maui next week, and I could just, I can bring my computer, not bring my computer. I can walk away, not walk away. If I want to go and see, my grandchildren, I can do that, go spend 4 days with my grandchildren and never have to look at a computer, and then get back and then do what I need to do. That's the best part about it, is that you are free. You are free to do what you want. And I don't have to drive downtown anymore to go to work, which is great, because in Spokane right now we're under 2 foot of snow. I don't have to go out in 90-degree weather. I can stay at home with my hot chocolate, my big pitcher of water, and my nice little warm house. So,
all right, what's the worst part?
Golly, is there a worst part? I guess the only worst part is that it's on you. Mm-hmm. It's on you to make it or not make it. But I think if you have the right training, which is why, I really wanted to work with you when we very first started out. I am constantly taking classes on education on how to do what it is that you do. Yeah. I'm always you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just to self-educate.
I always self-educate. There's always new things that are out there. Facebook wasn't a huge thing. I don't think Twitter even existed when I started. There's all these new things that you can have that can get you, okay, here's other places where you can get your traffic from. So then you have to learn about those. There's always things that are changing. And then, you can always get better at learning how to do copywriting. You can always get better at learning how to, work with numbers. I taught myself a lot of HTML. I didn't know how to do HTML when I first started out, and there were certain things where I wanted to switch stuff. So I started learning about how to do that. Like I wanted to make text a different color. And when I first set up Wedding LDS, for example, I knew that I wanted to have it look like an iPhone, because think it was necessarily the iPhones that were coming out back then, but like the phones would have like these little squares with the pictures on them, right?
Right.
And you could just pick on those. And that's what I wanted to have happen. And that's what I wanted the website to look like. And it didn't do that. And none of the WordPress, which is where I started it out, templates did that. And so I thought, okay, there's got to be a way to set up these pictures. And so I started doing the research on that, and I learned how to put the HTML together so I could put the pictures next to each other. Always self-educate.
Yeah, and just so for everybody out there, you don't have to do this. She just likes doing that kind of stuff.
I like doing it. Well, yeah. I had my mother was always one of those people that if you ever had a question, you'd say, "Hey, Mommy, what about whatever?" And she'd go, "Well, let's go look it up." This, of course, is in the 60s when I'm growing up, right? And you always had the big thing of encyclopedias,
right?
Sitting in, the hard copy ones. And so she would have us go and look it up. And so I learned that if you had a question, you just went and looked it up. Well, now you've got everything's online. So, I still, to this day, I look things up. I mean, I think the day you stop learning is the day you may as well just give it up. I just think
there's an old coal miner friend of mine that says the schoolhouse door is always open.
yeah. And it should be, that's fun. I mean, that's fun.
And now it's Google it. And so there's a spoof site out there called Let Me Google That For You. So when people call with all these simple questions, the site Let Me Google That For You. That's what we always say, because they could have done it themselves in 2 seconds rather than waiting for a support call. So tell them what your product is about, how much it costs, how they get a hold of it.
Okay, so what it is, it's 13 different subjects within restaurant safety. And so I've got cuts, slip, trips, falls, burns, ergonomic hazards, emergency exits, robbery prevention, fire safety, ABCs of fire extinguishers, et cetera, down to the 13. And when you first start out, as if you were a restaurant owner, you would sign, or a manager, whoever it is that's signing up for this, would sign up. And the cost on it depends on how many employees you have in your store, or what some people call a unit. So from like 1 to 10 people or 10 employees, then it's $39 a month. 11 to 30 employees is $59 a month. And then 31 to 70 employees is $79 a month. And for that, you're getting, when you sign up, I create for you a special custom landing page. And then I give you that link. And that's where your employees then sign up for free. And so that way I collect the employee's email address, and then I'm the person then who always emails your employees. So no impact to your time whatsoever.
Oh, great.
So I'd be saying employee 1, employee 2, employee 3, employee 40, hey, it's time to take the cut training. And so then they would log in, and then they take the training on cuts. There's a video that runs anywhere from 12 to 17 minutes. And like I said, it's all with micro learning, so it's really fun. They're really fun to watch. And then there's a participant guide that you can download if you want to follow along. And then there's 10 quick quizzes, 10 quick question quiz. And it's actually really a 9-question quiz, because question 10 is always the same question and the same answer. Who is, at the bottom line, responsible for your safety? And the answers are me, myself, I. So anyways, that's a gimme, but as long as you know the answer there, that it's me, myself, and I, who are definitely, bottom line responsible for my own safety.
You get people missing that question lots.
Not yet, but you never know.
I would have had perfect if I'd have got number 10 right. Jeez.
Right? Yeah. So anyway, and so then there's this online quiz, and the second that you pass the online quiz, and you can take it as many times as you need to. If you fail, you can retake it right then, use your participant guide, rewatch the video, whatever it takes. Once you pass it, you instantly get a certificate of completion. And it's a digital certificate, but you could print it out. It's an 8.5 by 11, but it also it's set up so that you can just click it when you earn it and send it off to Facebook or Instagram or Twitter and say, "Hey, I got my certificate."
Does the manager get told about it?
Yeah, the manager also gets an instant. I send out a report saying, "Hey, Susie Q 123 just passed your, the cut
Oh,
thing," and then
good.
also I compile that at the end of the month so that at the end of each 28 days, the manager gets the complete list of who passed,
Great,
and then
great.
of course who didn't. So if they wanted to, they could print that out, or they can just keep an electronic copy of it. But if, let's say, heaven for Betsy, somebody did have an accident within their restaurant and they tried to say, oh well, it's not my fault, the restaurant's at fault, or the whoever is at fault, and nobody ever told me anything, guess what? You just pull that out and you say, hey, we trained you on cuts on this date, and you took the one on burns on this date, and slip, trip, falls, and ergonomics, and we're training you every 28 days, telling you you need to be safe, you need to be careful, you need to be aware. And then you have the actual written and or electronic report saying this is what happened, and yes, we did train you, and you knew better.
And see, that could save way more than that 189,000 that you
way more,
talked about on premiums.
Yeah.
Because
and the
one
thing is, it's not
accident could be millions, right?
Oh yeah, the workman's comp multiplier, that's kind of like an afterthought of the yummies of how much you could save.
Mm-hmm.
The average burn can cost you $5,000 to $50,000.
Wow.
The average cut, with direct and indirect costs, right? The average cut's right behind it. Your average slip, trip, fall is anywhere from 5 to 25 and up. More people die from slip, trip, and falls than from any other accident, and burns is right behind it. So between your actual costs of how much you're paying out to the doctor or the emergency care or whoever else for somebody that gets hurt, then there's those indirect costs of, like your workman's comp's going up. And then you're also, and also on workman's comp, if you don't know this, when someone has an accident like that, it stays on there for 5 years.
Wow.
So you're paying that higher premium for 5 years before that drops off. So if somebody had a bad slip, trip, and fall, or they have, and then they hurt their shoulder, for example, okay, and then, that stays on there for 5 years. And so you're paying for that. And so when you keep having accidents, those start layering up, and you're paying for those. And conversely, if you're not having accidents and everything starts falling off, boom, you're getting down to, that's when you start getting back these discounts, because you're not having all these accidents. And then that's another indirect cost that you don't necessarily look at, but you have to. If somebody gets hurt, they're out of work.
Yeah.
They're taking days off. You're having to pay for somebody else, maybe overtime, to come in, because you don't have someone else that can maybe work that station, or you don't have enough crew that's cross-trained, and then if you have to hire a whole new person, the time and the cost of training that new person, and then your morale starts going down. So then you can start losing other crew because of that. And so now you don't have a tight, connected team that's working anymore. So there are a lot of things that you have to take into account here. When people know that you care and that you're concerned about their safety, and that, then that makes a difference, and also the managers also get this training, by the way. And it also comes with posters that they can put up that match whatever the training is. So when we're talking about cuts, boom, up goes the cut posters. But the managers also take this training. So do the assistant managers, all the supervisors, everyone, so that everyone's on the same page. Everyone can talk the same safety language. Everyone knows what it is that you're doing.
Well, this is really an important topic. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say I was thinking of something funny that was kind of happening. So, like I said, I think I just mentioned offhand, but each video ends with a music video. And the music video is this funny little catchy tune, and it ends with restaurant safety video, let's get accidents to zero, become a restaurant safety hero. And so each one, avoid slip, trips, and falls at restaurants, wear your safety shoes. And it always ends with a da, da, da. And so my daughter's like, oh, that is just so ridiculous. That is so crazy. I don't even know why you would, people are going to think that's so weird. And I'm like, she goes, and I said, yes, but it's going to stick in their head. And so they're going to be thinking, do, 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 And so I actually went down there to visit her this just in January, a couple months ago, and she wanted me to come down. And so my grandbabies just loved to, we want to watch another one. We want to watch another one. So they were watching them. And then later on that night, she's cooking dinner, and I hear her going, doo, 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 doo. I said, see, you can make all the fun you want of it. It's in your head. Prove my point.
Did you get Beyonce to be in the music video?
No. No. Not quite there yet, but yeah. So it really does work. It's between it's just, and I don't think it matters so much that yes, you should talk about cuts and burns and individual each thing, because each thing has its own hazards and its own things that could happen to you. But it's that constant reminder of be safe, be safe, be safe, be safe. Every 28 days, they say that you lose about 90% of what you learn within a 30-day period. So just about the time people could possibly maybe be thinking about not remembering this, boom, we hit them with another one. And so it's that constant, gentle pressure of being safe, being safe, being safe.
All right, now I don't think you're going to have time to do what I'm going to talk about right now, but because this is going to go so big. But did you think about adapting the material for other markets, like warehouses and other types of things?
I considered that, but I think restauranting is what I know.
There's certainly plenty of business where you're at now.
There is, and restauranting is what I know. And if I had to branch out to other people, which I could, I think it would be that would be work. Because I'm in an area that I'm not the expert. When it comes to restauranting, I'm ServSafe certified. I've been in the business for 25 plus years. In all those years, I've never had an employee ever need more than a Band-Aid. So I pride myself on that. And then I'm the hospitality queen. I did think about maybe redoing this as a hospitality training, how to really work together as a team for hospitality to increase sales in your restaurant. But I think that this one was so much more important because hospitality is one thing, okay, let's make more money in the restaurant. That's great. That's fun. Whereas if I can save you and one of your employees from the pain and suffering and the money that goes out because they didn't have that slip, trip, fall, because they didn't get burned, because they didn't get cut, because they didn't hurt their back to the point where they're never going to be able to work again, and then you're paying off for that. And then they go out and get a lawyer. I mean, if you Google any kind of, restaurant injury, boom, all these lawyers come on. Hey, we'll help you get, it's not your fault and workman's comp isn't paying you enough and we need to go after them and we need to sue them. I mean, oh my goodness. I mean, we live in the most litigious society that there is. So
yeah, I had a buddy that was in the construction industry, and I called him a backhoe chaser instead of an ambulance chaser.
yeah, right. Because same thing. It's just, they're out there to try to get you for anything, so, and I think also not only does this help you with your employees, because your employees are thinking safety, it also helps to keep your guests safe because, and I say that, and I'll give you a really good example, if there's water on the floor out in the dining room area, and someone goes to, clean that up, hopefully someone's going to see it and go, oh, whoa, and they'll be more aware of the fact that their guests could be slipping, right? And then when you put up the, hey, do not fall sign, those actually become a trip hazard if you leave them up there for too long because people don't see them and then they trip over them. Now you've got a different problem. So instead of slipping, you're tripping, and either way you could fall. I think it helps you be more aware in the dining room as well, because it's not just your back of the house that are taking this training. It's your bussers, it's your servers, because all those people are also, the servers are working along, the top, what they call the expediting window, where you take all those hot plates out of those hot lights, so they have the possibility of getting burned. If you're a busser and you have to pick up broken glass, you could be cut. If you're a busser and you're taking trash out, you need to know how to properly pick up a trash bag and do it from the top and not from the bottom, because if you lift it up from the bottom and somebody threw a hypodermic needle in there, right?
Wow.
Boom. Okay. Or broken glass, same thing, and you're just talking a little bit of plastic between you and your hand. So, so we talk about how to properly take care of your trash, and how to, what do you do if there's a hypodermic needle on the table that someone left there or left in the bathroom, or, and so bloodborne pathogens is another one of the safety modules that we talk about.
Wow. I'm
So,
going to change the way I take my garbage out at home.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, people just don't think about that, and also, I mean, here's a sharp tin can or something else, and you're lifting it from the bottom, and bam, and yeah, you can get cut, and then those can,
All
cuts
right.
can
Well,
hurt.
this has been really crazy great of how the importance of this, and the importance of safety expands far above her expertise in the restaurant business, but for all the small business people out there. But we've got to take a quick break for our sponsor. When we come back, we're going to ask Rose what's a typical day look like for her and how she stays motivated. Folks, today's sponsor is the Distance Learning School, the Internet Marketing Training Center of Virginia, imtcva.org. Of course, that'll be in the show notes. And let me ask you, do you know what colleges and universities are doing? Well, according to gradeinflation.com, they're raising grade point averages to make it look like they're doing a better job of teaching when there's a mountain of evidence that says they aren't. So I want you to watch the eye-opening higher education webinar at screwthecommute.com/webinars, and you potentially save yourself and your loved ones, friends, maybe neighbors, hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt when they go for higher education. But be prepared to be mad when you listen to this thing, because a lot of the things that are happening to the youth out there is really, really bad. So check it out at screwthecommute.com/webinars. All right, so let's get back to Rose Haller, a super safety expert. And what's a typical day look like for you, Rose?
Well, typical day, when I decide to wake up in the morning, once I do, I usually just make up my breakfast and I do my little bit of house cleaning that I want to do. And then I make sure I have all my water next to my computer. I like to stay hydrated, so I get my big glass of water and my big pitcher of water, and then I put on my cheaters and I turn on my computer and I go for part two. I'm a big note taker. And so each day as I'm building the next thing or I'm looking for the next thing that I think would be important to add, I'm always taking notes about, okay, I need to add this, or, tomorrow I need to look into this, or I should be building that page, or, and so I lay out my day of what it is that I want to accomplish that day, whether it's going to be a new landing page or whether it's going to be a new offer that I'm going to put together, or whether I'm going to take time for training for something else, like, oh, I'm not sure exactly how to do this, or, hey, I need to use this new kind of software. Today's going to be the day I'm going to learn how to do that. And lay out my day to do that. I'll take out time in between to make a really nice lunch. If my hubby is home, he will be making lunch and dinner for me so I can keep going.
That's nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's a sweetie that way. He's like, well, you help me build mine, I have to help you build yours, and I can't help you build yours, so I'm going to feed you so you can keep building yours. I said, that works for me. So when he's here, then he makes breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which is great. And usually
make sure he watches your safety program, because I think the kitchen is a very dangerous place. I mean, one time I was exploding eggs into the ceiling, and I'm crawling like an army man on the floor of my kitchen to try to turn the heat off because I let all the water run out of the pan.
Oh yeah, no, it's scary, and it's scary. I just read the other day about an employee who was pretty new to the restaurant. A pressure cooker had exploded. Jeez. Yeah. And so that poor person, was like, whoa, and they knew they couldn't run away fast enough. So they tried to turn their back to it, but then all down the back, just, second and third degree burns. And yeah, it was pretty awful. So it could get scary. Yeah, it is scary stuff. And that's another thing, you asked what keeps me motivated. I think that's what keeps me motivated the most, is knowing that I'm helping not only the employees stay away from danger, but I'm also helping the managers, because they now can give this information without impacting their time. The worst thing you have to do as a manager is like, they'll have people that have these bingo games, right? On safety bingo games. Okay, A, they're not effective. B, nobody cares. And C, it takes a lot of time to put those things together. Then you have to try to get them motivated to do it, or if you're trying to get them to watch one of these old what I call the grandpa safety videos, because they're so boring. You're setting up the computer somewhere, and turning it on and then making them sit there and watch it. And then you have to put that all away. And you just don't have time to do that. You're running a restaurant. And for anyone who's ever run restaurants, that is it is a quick business. You are always running.
You know what's really cool though, that you're doing this from like Big Ben in England. Yes, I keep hearing that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, and it's gonna hit us with 10 things here.
Oh boy, is that the time of day, or is that your doorbell, or what?
It's the time of day. I should have turned off the grandfather clock. Sorry. I guess mine was.
You were talking about grandfather. You were talking about boring grandfathers, and the clock got mad. I think that's.
Yeah, that was funny. Something.
Well, thanks so much for. Now tell everybody where they can find you, because I don't think we ever mentioned where they go to get this course.
Oh, so it is. It's about restaurant employee safety. That's restaurantemployeesafety.com.
Okay, and we'll have that in the show notes for everybody.
Yeah.
And
they
can contact
you. Tom.
Oh, there you
go.
Those
best URLs.
There you go. And they can contact you through the site also, right?
Yep. Yes, they can.
There we go.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. I know that's going to be massive. It's going to help a lot of people, and you're going to get really rich on this. And
I hope so. That would be great. Yeah. That's why I took your class.
There you go. All right. So thanks for coming on. And everybody, the next episode is how to make money with quizzes. And do us a favor, please subscribe and review over at iTunes. It gives us a little boost in the show if you give us a star rating over there, and leave some text on what you thought about the shows. And this is one of our Wednesday and Friday interviews with great entrepreneurs. And on Mondays, we do in-depth training sessions. That's what this Monday will be, teaching you how to use quizzes to make a lot of money. So this is episode 120. So if you want to see the show notes, go to screwthecommute.com/120, and we'll see you on that next episode. Catch you later.